everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about a very special book, and that is Loved by P.C. and Kristin Cast. For those of you who don't know or who haven't watched any of my videos, the House of Night series by P.C. and Kristin Cast is one of my all-time favorite YA books in the world. And for the 10th anniversary of the release of the first book of House of Night, marked, the two of them decided to release a new series called the House of Night Otherworld series, which will consist of 2 books. The first one being Loved, and the second one being a book that's going to come out next year called Lost. I'm unsure whether those are the only 2 books in the new series, but I think so far they are the only planned books in the series, although I know that PC has some other books in the series that she would love to write, if possible. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the House of Night series, you can jump right into Loved. There is a nice little summary of all the 12 House of Night books. It is also considered a separate series on its own. However, it is a continuation of the events that took place at the end of the House of Night series. If you do want to read the House of Night series, I would absolutely advise you to first read those, read the novellas. But if you are sort of iffy about it and you don't really want to read 12 books, or you just don't really feel like it, then you can jump right into Loved. However, it will spoil you for the whole series of House of Night, and you might be a little confused about some of the characters or some of the relationships. You know, you get more of a feel for it if you do read the 12 books. Obviously. If you are unsure whether you want to read the House of Night series, let me give you a quick rundown about what it's all about. Basically, it's about Zoe Redbird. She is a 16-year-old teenager who lives in Tulsa, in Oklahoma. However, one day she is marked by a vampire, and that means that she is now a fledgling, which is a person who is in transition to being a vampire. Vampires in this world are very different from the regular vampires. They don't have fangs, they're not sort of secretive or separated from the human population. They're very open about themselves. They are, however, secluded to their schools. When a person is a fledgling and they're in transition to becoming a vampire, this takes about 4 years. From this time onwards, you have to be at a House of Night. You have to be in the vicinity of an adult vampire, because otherwise your body will start to reject the change and you die. So Zoe then has to move to this House of Night. However, on the way there, something very interesting happens, which I will not spoil for anyone who hasn't read the series. She obviously has to deal with a lot of things. She has to deal with powers that she might be getting. She has to deal with bullies. She has to deal with her parents, who are very, not very supportive of her at the moment. And it's just super interesting. I would just absolutely recommend anyone to go read it. I loved. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, but it was just an absolute wonderful continuation. The thing that you should know about House of Night books is that a book usually doesn't take up a lot of time, sort of in a time frame. So I think Loved is set over the span of about maybe 30 hours or something, and a lot of crap goes down here. Oh my god. Basically, I absolutely loved it. It made me cry, it made me laugh, it made my heart break, and I'm absolutely excited for Lost to come out, and I am so pumped for this. So I will now be getting into some spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't read the House of Night series, if you haven't read Loved, you should go back, you should read the series, either Loved or the House of Night series and then Loved, and then we can discuss it. Bye! So the first thing that I want to talk about is this whole other world. Now, the other world is sort of like this other dimension / sort of like a parallel universe that has the same people, has the same kind of events taking place, but everything is twisted because Neferet is back. Well, she's not exactly back in a physical sense, but you do know that she has basically taken control of the House of Night in this other world. And basically Zoe and her friends, they cast a circle in order to sort of stop this kind of evil, which Zoe was warned about in a dream by Kelowna, or whom she thought was Kelowna. And then shit absolutely goes down when her circle sort of fails. She cuts herself, she opens up a portal, and basically these zombie, vampire, evil creatures basically spawn and devour a lot of humans, let's put it that way. I found it absolutely fascinating to see Jack, or other Jack, back in the series. I was obviously very crushed and heartbroken, and I cried when he died in the House of Night series. I was absolutely horrified for Damien because I knew that he was basically his rock. Jack meant everything to Damien. They were so cute together. It was very strange, but also very comforting to see Jack and Damien back together. I never thought that Damien would sort of move on from Jack. You know, he had Adam in Redeemed. He sort of started dating him, and I always thought kind of iffy about that. Not because I don't believe that you can or should move on if your significant other would die. I, however, always thought it was weird how fast he moved on, and also that he sort of didn't seem to really think about Jack that much anymore. And so it was sort of nice to see that struggle within Damien. Not because I want him to suffer, oh my poor baby, like I really don't, but it was just nice to see that kind of recognition of Jack's absence and to sort of just see him really care about him. I am obviously very happy that Jack and Damien are now back together and that Jack has been healed from his sort of feral red vampirism. However, I do have sort of, not my issues, but I just feel like it's very strange how Damien can sort of take Jack back without even thinking about it, without even like caring that it's not really Jack. I mean, I understand that Jack is basically made up of the same essence, he has the same personality, he has the same likes and dislikes, and he obviously was also dating Damien in, you know, the other world. So he is Jack, but also I feel like, you know, the Jack that we knew, he sort of became Jack by the experiences that he went through, by, you know, the things that went down in, you know, Betrayed, Chosen, Untamed, and so on. And it just felt kind of strange to have Damien go back to him so fast. However, if we are seeing this from a perspective where Jack is basically the same Jack, and it's just kind of like Damien got the opportunity to meet him, and then it's just sort of like Jack isn't really dead anymore, then I'm absolutely okay with it. I thought it was the sweetest thing ever when they got back together and they're kissing. Oh, but I'm absolutely happy for the two of them, and I also really appreciate how PC and Kristin sort of touched up on Damien's depression. I did always think that Damien was someone who was very sensitive and had a lot of, you know, his emotions were very high. He kind of felt everything in the world around him a bit more than other people did. But I did think about, you know, his parents and how they sort of ostracized him after, you know, they found out he was gay, and just sort of the things that he went through, losing Jack, obviously battling Neferet with, you know, Zoe and the others. And it was just sort of nice to see, you know, kind of like the consequences of what happened, but also the way that he battled against it, how he fought back, how he found his center and his place, and he found his rock, Jack. And it was also so sweet to see Zoe's grandma helping him and sort of guiding him towards his path. That was just really sweet, and I absolutely love her. She's such a wise grandmother. Then Zoe obviously gets reunited with her brother, Kevin. I thought that was really touching. I thought it was really weird how Kevin was sort of flirting with Aphrodite. I thought it was so typical, and it was such a, like, you know, young kind of guy thing to do. But what was even weirder was when Aphrodite sort of flirted back with him. I mean, at first I thought she wasn't really serious, but then when at the end she kind of, you know, kissed him a tiny bit, I was a bit shocked. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand that in this matriarchal vampire society, women aren't bound by the same social norms as they are in reality. They can sort of date multiple guys. However, I always thought that while girls should never get sort of hated on in the series about dating multiple guys, I am very much a monogamous person. I like the idea of someone in the end being with someone for the rest of their life and being with that one person and not sort of, you know, being polygamous. And I always thought, or I always, you know, felt like Aphrodite, you know, found Darius and she really loved him and he really helped her, you know, find herself and center herself and, you know, overcome bad habits. And so I was just a little bit taken aback by how she sort of kissed him back. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen in Lost, but I just don't really feel like that was a very Aphrodite-y thing to do. Speaking of Aphrodite, the most touching thing that I believe happened in the book was obviously Aphrodite's encounter with Nyx and her new gift. Who saw that coming? No one did, not even me. Like, oh my god, and I'm usually great with like conspiracy theories and stuff. I am so glad that this whole thing has sort of been resolved now, because it was always a bit confusing about what she was exactly, because she was obviously not a fledgling or a vampire, but she obviously wasn't human anymore either, because, you know, she was obviously Nyx's prophetess. She got her visions, and I just thought it was sort of like Aphrodite sort of needed an identity. And I just thought it was really sweet how Nyx came to her, you know, she marked her again with a full adult mark, which is both red and blue. Awesome idea. However, I have to say though, the coolest thing would have been to not have her mark be red and blue, but to have it be purple, because I think that if you just look at it, I feel like Aphrodite has been marked as a very, very special vampire now. And I feel like, you know, you see the red marks, you see the blue marks. Okay, you don't see red and blue, but purple would have just been such a great color to use because first of all, she's going to be very wise because she now has to make decisions as Nyx's bridge. And it would also symbolize the fact that she's bringing together the red and the blue fledglings and vampires. So like a combination of red and blue and not just red and blue sort of meeting but not really crossing over. I hope that PC and Kristin don't take offense at this. I just thought it would have been really awesome. It would also be really awesome that like the more she uses her gift of granting humanity, the more the colors sort of merge together, become fully purple, and then maybe fade. First, I was so happy that Nyx marked her again. I was like, oh my god, Aphrodite is finally a vampire again. I am so happy. You know, like, she's really deserved this. She deserves so much better. She deserves the most happiness in the entire world. And then Nyx dropped the fucking bomb. She basically said that Aphrodite now has the ability to grant humanity back to any red or blue vampire or fledgling and humans, but the more she uses her gift, the more her mark will fade, the more she will sort of not be a vampire anymore until she is fully human, fully mortal, lives out a mortal lifespan, and then dies with children. I was so fucking shocked. Like, I internally screamed so much. I was so shocked. It was like, what? First of all, I don't really know what to think about it. On the one hand, I am super thrilled like that Nyx gave Aphrodite her mark back. On the other hand, I am very taken aback that Nyx would sort of want her to lose her mark again and not be her prophetess. I was very upset when I heard that. I was also very confused because Nyx granted the humanity of the red and blue vampires and the fledglings at the moment, so I'm unsure about who exactly Aphrodite would grant this humanity to because it doesn't seem like there are any, you know, vampires or fledglings around who sort of need this anymore right now, but maybe she will grant it to Neferet? I don't know. I'm really curious to know. I also don't want her to die. I don't want her to be a human again. Like, I know that sounds really selfish, but I really don't want her to be human. I also thought, like, what about Darius? You know, if Aphrodite becomes a human, she will be immortal. She'll have a normal lifespan, and then she will die, like, centuries before Darius. Like, what the actual frick? I had a little thought, because I thought it was very interesting that Aphrodite learned the age of Darius in this book. I was like, that's a very interesting fact. I'm going to quickly check again what his age was because I would find this extremely interesting. Now, Darius is already 88 years old. And I know that's not like super long for a vampire, but I was thinking about this, how it's going to take a while for Aphrodite's gift to fade away. I hope that the House of Night in Tulsa will get at least a nice 50 to 100 years of peace after this whole bullshit with Neferet. Like, I really want that for them. Let's say that maybe she uses up her gift in like 200 years. Okay, that is still a very nice lifespan, and that would mean that she would have then probably like another 50 years maybe, or 80 years. I'm gonna assume that she sort of stops aging and then maybe continues aging when her gift fades completely. So that would mean that she might die at like 300 years old, or maybe a bit less or more. Now, obviously, like 380 whatever years old isn't a very uncommon age to die as a vampire, I don't think, and so I would imagine that Darius and Aphrodite probably then live a very nice life together. I was also kind of surprised about how Nyx said that Aphrodite would have kids, because obviously Darius, as a full-fledged vampire, cannot produce any sperm. He can't make children. So who is this guy that Aphrodite is gonna have kids with? Like, what? I do not want her separated from Darius. I do not really want her to date someone else. That would be extremely depressing and sad. Independently of this whole, like, her being immortal, her not being with Darius maybe, I did think about, you know, the consequences of what that would be like for Aphrodite to be a human again. She obviously had a very bad childhood. Her mother was absolutely horrible. Her dad was sort of nonchalant about it. You know, she sort of fled from her human life and her humanity by becoming a vampire. She didn't really want the commitments of a human. She didn't want to have children, so she was super happy when, you know, her fledglingism or vampirism stopped her being able to have children. You know, she sort of escaped from the world, didn't want to feel much anymore. And while I do see that, you know, her losing her mark and becoming a human again is sort of a loss, I do also see it as a gift from Nyx, from being able to sort of embrace that human life that she really didn't want when she was younger, and to maybe see that she does really want it later on. She does want kids, she does want to be a human, she does want to live out a life just normally and peacefully. And while I'm really excited to see where this is going with Aphrodite, I can also imagine that either way, whether she stays a vampire for a really long time and Nyx will maybe grant her full vampirism, I don't know, I really hope she will. I can also see her being happy as a human. I can see that as being a blessing in disguise, and I think it is very, very touching to think about it. Please, PC, if you're listening, please let there be some sort of loophole where Aphrodite doesn't get rid of her mark, please. It was also very, very heartbreaking to see her dialogue with her mother. It was absolutely horrible to see that happening. Like, how can a mother just be like that? I didn't understand. And it was a very sort of dark and very heavy moment when Aphrodite found out that her mother was dead. I loved the way that Aphrodite went from being, you know, totally in the gutter, totally messed up, to then accepting her gift and her position as Nyx's prophetess and gaining her, you know, ability to control herself again. I always thought it was a bit strange that in Redeemed, you know, you can still see her drinking, you still see her taking her pills. It was very, like, bad, in my opinion. Like, I didn't think that it was very healthy for her to do that, and it was just really nice that this was a resolved thing, that now she has found herself again, that she knows who she is, that she can trust herself, that she loves herself, that she's being better than her mother, and that she's not going to indulge in this abusive behavior towards herself. It was then really, really sad when her mother died. I mean, I understand that it's not sad for her because she hated her mother, but it was just very touching how she sort of took a minute, sort of was quiet, then dropped the things into the toilet, and then was like, no, this part of my life is over. I don't want anything to do with her anymore. I'm free from these chains that have kept me down for so long. And it was just really nice to see Aphrodite pick up her pieces again, and I really, really hope that Darius plays more of a role in that. In the next book, I really want to see their relationship develop a bit more. Also, I thought it was really, really funny to see Eric and Shawnee together. It was really sweet. It's obviously a bit strange because, you know, Eric is like Zoe's first boyfriend at House of Night, and it was just a bit strange, but it was really sweet to see him sort of finally settling down and Shawnee being able to, you know, handle him. Speaking of boyfriends, the thing that I am like the most excited for the next book is obviously Zoe's reunion with Heath. I'm a bit confused about whether it's Heath or Aurochs. I don't know what to call him because obviously Aurochs is like composed of Heath's soul. Like, I think it's the same person, but like in different bodies, and obviously Aurochs has his own, like, you know, history. He has his own like likes and dislikes. He's not really Heath, but it is Heath because it's the same spirit and the same essence. So I can assume that like Aurochs is like Heath and Heath doesn't really exist anymore, which is a very sad thought. However, Heath is alive and well in the other world, and from the very, very short preview that I read in the end of the book, Zoe is going to go and see Heath. I don't really know what to feel about this. I have always liked Heath a bit more than Stark, in my opinion. I absolutely love Stark. Stark is a wonderful and selfless and just absolutely heartbreakingly cute boyfriend to Zoe. However, I have always wondered, you know, what would have happened if Heath hadn't had died. You know, it's obviously something that's been on my mind a tiny bit, and I really am interested to see how that goes. I have to say, I thought it was a bit weird how Kevin is sort of like, you know, the other world's Zoe. I thought that was a tiny bit over the top much. It's getting a bit weird. It also kind of feels like he's more identifying himself with Zoe rather than sort of finding his own character. However, I did find that very interesting. I'm really interested to see how that goes. I really hope that we see, you know, Kevin's point of view in Lost, and also I hope that we see Neferet. Speaking of Neferet, one of the nicest things in this book as well was, you know, Zoe's recognition of Neferet's / Emily's abuse. I actually read Neferet's Curse. It was a very pitiful story. It was very sad, and it was sort of nice for Zoe to acknowledge, you know, that Neferet is evil. She has become this evil being, this evil creature. However, she does have a super tragic and sad backstory. And while I don't know whether I 100% agree with this, I do feel like there is something redeemable in Neferet. Now, I don't know whether I can completely agree with this, but I do sort of believe that just because she was once a girl who is so much better than this. And I think that Zoe can recognize that as well. I absolutely hope that there will be some sort of redemption for Neferet, maybe in the second book. And if not, that's completely fine too. I just wanted to put that out there, that I felt that that was a really great addition to Loved. It was an amazing book. I would have devoured it so much faster if I didn't have exams to study for, but my heart just sort of broke in two and then was fixed back together and then broke in two again and then was fixed back together over and over and over again throughout this whole series. I can't wait for the second book. Let me know what your thoughts are. Please leave a comment down below if you liked the book, if you disliked the book. I would love to share some thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon with another one. Bye!